Listen to the podcast. Just search for Hancock and Kelley.
Welcome back here on Hancock and Kelley. Let's dig in now to what we've already seen from the Biden administration. Not even in office a week, and there have been 30 executive actions taken in the administration thus far. They include halting funding for the construction of President Trump's border wall, reversing President Trump's travel ban targeting largely Muslim countries, imposing a mask mandate on federal property, ramping up vaccination supplies, and requiring international travelers to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test prior to traveling to the United States. A lot done in a short amount of time. What do you think really sticks here versus what do you think needs a little bit more work to get where it needs to be? Michael, we'll start with you.
Well, look, both John and I in the past have lamented what's going on with executive orders. This really got rolling under George W. Bush, and then we had Barack Obama, who expanded the executive powers. Donald Trump expanded them even more, and now Joe Biden's taking advantage of them. None of the executive orders that have been issued this week should be a surprise. This is what Joe Biden ran on. Most of them directed towards the pandemic, really reversing course and having a strategy and a plan to go out there and deal with the virus and help people struggling as a result of the virus when he was really left with no plan. Some very controversial ones, including the Keystone Pipeline, which are problematic because it's a loss of jobs to some folks. But I'm hopeful that as it relates to the Keystone Pipeline, where there are some jobs at risk, that it's hopefully a negotiating point that we can see some money injected into new green type energy, because we can drill all we want. We're about to run out of oil. And the idea of it being black and white as it relates to this pipeline is just not the case. We need to find a way to, one, continue to deal with oil, but also find ways to invest in what's next.
All right, John, your thoughts?
So the way I'm going to try and approach this new administration is I'm going to try and affirm the things that I can affirm. I think using the Defense Production Act to facilitate getting vaccines out and PPE, I applaud that. I think that was the right way to go. Generally speaking, Michael is correct. The executive authority, these executive orders have really tilted the balance of power towards the executive branch and away from the legislative branch. I don't think long-term that's good for our country. But when Joe Biden does something that I think is wrong, I'm going to talk about it. And I think this Keystone Pipeline executive order is horrible for a number of reasons. One, we have become energy independent. This is going to make that goal more difficult to achieve, suspending this. Two, Canada is a very close ally with us. This is a big priority for them as well. And to do this before he spoke to Trudeau, I think was a mistake. Three, you've got thousands of union jobs working on this thing. That was an unfortunate one. The other executive order that I think is just nuts is requiring transgendered, men who identify as women to be able to compete in women's sports. That's going to upend the whole concept of women's sports. It's a terrible idea. Culturally, I can't imagine that that's popular. It's kind of ridiculous, in my opinion.
There's two things, though, that John just dropped in there that I'm encouraged by. Number one, Republicans are suddenly worried about union jobs. I welcome that. I wish that they would do that and really protect unions all the time. They're typically having an assault on them. And the second thing is you know what? I lost my train of thought.
This political cycle will do that to you, Michael. We'll forgive you. We'll forgive you.
It's hard to count to two sometimes.
I was going to say you boys have been pretty.
The thing would be, John, you talked about our consideration of our allies. Isn't it great that you're suddenly worried about our allies? After 4 years of really thumbing our nose at our allies, I'm encouraged that Republicans are worried about our allies too. Again, let's hope that we can take some of this real common sense thoughts that I think John really enumerated right there and put them into action and not really just use them as talking points.
There we go. You boys were a little tame here this morning. I'm glad we got the juices flowing. That's what I like to see. Let's change gears here. 7 Democratic senators have asked the Senate Ethics Committee to investigate the actions of Republican Senators Josh Hawley of Missouri and Ted Cruz of Texas. The goal, they say, is to fully understand their role in the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. Hawley and Cruz led objections in the Senate to Biden's victory, despite the widespread recognition that the effort would fail. John, lead us off on this one.
Well, look, you can disagree with what they did in objecting to the election results, but it is a power that a senator possesses to be able to raise those objections. It's not an ethical violation what Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz do. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but it's not an ethics violation. They were conducting duly concurred powers that U.S. senators have, and that should never be an ethics violation. This is just a political gotcha staged by some Senate Democrats.
Michael?
Well, we shall see. The Ethics Commission is going to investigate that. You just showed a photo of Josh Hawley there with Mitt Romney sitting behind him. I think Mitt Romney would like to examine this as well. And you know what? These are the rules of the Senate. They have this ethics committee to be able to consider these things. If John's right and it truly was no error, then it shouldn't be a problem because the Republicans aren't going to vote for it. But watching Mitch McConnell or watching Mitt Romney over the shoulder of Josh Hawley there, both Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley have made themselves pariahs inside the Senate. And John, I think there's some Republicans who feel as though there's some ethics violations here as well.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Still to come here on Hancock and Kelley, like sand through the hourglass, these are the days of delirium within the St. Louis County Council. We will discuss that. Plus, more Hawley talk. He's got a new publisher for his book. What H&K have to say about that ahead today.